In this video, we're going to take you through the steps we need to take if we've got an existing safety management system and we want to transition that system to the new ISO safety management system standard, ISO 45001. First thing to realise is if we've got an existing safety management systems, that ISO hasn't reinvented the wheel. They're quite open and overt in saying, yes, we are going to, their standard is being developed considering existing standards, particularly 18001, the British Safety Management System standard. So yes, if you've got an existing safety management system based on that British standard or even the Australian New Zealand standard 4801, many of those concepts and requirements you're familiar with, that kind of systematic plan, do, check and act approach, concepts of continual improvement, key requirements to support an effective management system, management review, corrective action, internal audit, incident reporting, all of those elements are still, if you're familiar with, you will find those very solidly in the new ISO 45001 standard. Yes, in the ISO 45001, it does introduce some new requirements and some modified requirements compared to those other two standards. Rather than go through all of them right now, you can go to our resources page. We've pre-prepared. There's some downloads there where you can download what are the differences between those existing standards and ISO 45001. So let's have a look at the steps we need to go through to transition our safety system to the new standard. So number one is, for the compliance team, get a really good understanding of the changes between the new standard and your existing standard and what some of the focus areas are. Step number two, we then encourage you, start educating and consulting within your business, educating the top management team on what the changes are, particularly around some of the top management accountabilities and their role in a safety management system. That is a very strong focus area. Same for our operational staff. Yes, ISO 45001 also has a very strong focus on consultation and participation, even around the design of our system and our processes for identifying hazards and risks and controls, things like that. Step number three is really about doing a gap analysis and developing an action plan out of that. I'll take you through an example around that shortly. Step number four, once we have done that gap analysis, which is really an internal audit against the requirements of the standard ISO 45001, addressed any gaps that we do identify, then yes, that's when we can contact our certification body and request that on our next audit that we transition to the new standard. They may ask to extend the duration of that audit a little bit, but that's the common way of making that transition. As our bonus today, that kind of step-by-step process briefly for a gap analysis is where we can take the requirements of ISO 45001, build an audit checklist around them. When in that first column, as you can see in the example here, we actually put in the requirements of ISO 45001. In this example, it's talking about requirement 7.2, competence. What we can do in that, it's a really good tool. We find a gap analysis is a great tool for identifying, well, okay, for this particular requirement, competence, what do we already have in place in our existing safety system or other business processes that contributes towards meeting this requirement? What's any gap where, hang on, here's part of the requirement we don't have any process in place for that at the moment. Really then, once you've completed that assessment, take all those gaps, turn them into a bit of an action plan. It gives you a much clearer scope, indication of the scope of work involved in transitioning between the new standards. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed our content, we really encourage you to subscribe. We've got a whole range of videos to support your learning as you progress towards certification.